Hi again, everybody. This is a wonderful new day, and I hope you're in for a good one. Just to those of you back at home, I'm still in Houston in the USA. Had a really blessed time here. These people are awesome, and I'm just so grateful for good friends that we have to partner with to help us with the things that we do back in South Africa. But it's been awesome being here. But we do miss you guys. Heard you had a great service on Sunday. Thank you, Keith West. That's awesome. Also, right, now we're into Deuteronomy chapter 30 again. We're talking about the choice of life and death and curses and blessings. There's certain benefits to making good choices, and that's the law of the jungle, that make a good choice and there's generally better consequences than making a bad one. And we realize that some of these choices come with challenges. They come with almost conditions. If you want to choose God, you have to love God. There's another choice that you have to make. You have to choose to know His mind. You have to choose to listen to Him. Now in the passage there, it says clearly, after the person has said he wants to choose to love God, that God speaks to those people. You want to know why God doesn't speak to you? Maybe it's because you don't love Him as you should. Maybe the barrier between you and Him has grown too big. God still loves you, but maybe your love for Him needs to tip it up a notch and move to the ranks to become an all-consuming desire to know Him, His will and His way. Then God speaks to those people. He hides from the casual person. Occasionally He'll speak, but right now He's talking to those who have qualified by saying, I really want to choose God. I really want to love Him. Now God is always speaking. We always know, and we often say that God speaks to us through His Word, does He not? And the Word is a great way that God does. He also speaks to us through our consciences. That's why we have a conscience. And God will sometimes reactivate a dead conscience in order to revitalize it and help you to be able to clear this channel of communication between you and Him. He can use your conscience. And then God uses conditions around you, sometimes unusual circumstances will speak into your life. And you say, hey man, why did that happen? That's an unusual incident. Maybe, just maybe, God is saying something to you. But there is a lesson that we learn from Elijah in 1 Kings chapter 19. Elijah was being spoken to by God. And God had him in a very particular place. God had him in a place on a mountain. It was just him and God. And God said, Elijah, it's now quiet enough for me to speak to you. Are you listening? And Elijah said, yes, Lord, I'm listening to you. Speak to me. And then, without another word being said, suddenly the ground began to shake and the whole mountain began to tumble. And it says that the wind blew and tore the mountain apart and it shattered the rocks. People, that's one heck of a wind. Any wind that could tear mountains apart and shatter rocks, I'm going to tell you, is pretty spectacular. And Elijah stood there and his eyes opened and he smiled. He says, oh God, you're going to talk to me in the wind. Oh, that's so greatly typical of you. But God was not in the wind and Elijah was disappointed. And then all of a sudden there came an earthquake and the ground began to shake and the ground beneath him began to split open. And Elijah thought, man, this is even better than the wind. God, you must be in this earthquake. It's so awesome. It's so spectacular. You have to be speaking to me in the earthquake. Speak, Lord, I'm listening. And God didn't speak to him in the earthquake. And then all of a sudden there was a fire that came and swept across the mountain, frightened the living daylights, I'm sure, out of Elijah. And he saw fire. Our God is a consuming fire. He began to make all the connections of every verse that he knew, only to find that God was not in the fire. You see, people, the lesson is this. Do not look for God in the spectacular. I love the spectacular, and sometimes God does very spectacular things, and that's awesome. But if you want to hear from God according to the story of Elijah, you need to find that quiet place, because God's voice will come to you in a still, small whisper. He doesn't want to compete with the things around you. He doesn't want to compete with the challenges in the world. He doesn't want to compete with your problems and he just wants you alone and allow you to speak to him and him to speak to you. God is not often found in the spectacular. When God speaks, he speaks with a still, small voice. Wow, that's awesome. That's why these early morning devotions, or whenever you do these things, are great times for you just to be quiet before God. Put the problems of the world aside, put the challenges of life down, and just concentrate on who God is. Develop a pattern for doing this. Elijah had done that. Don't just do it once and God didn't speak and not do it again. Go continually, quietly before God. That's why the Bible says to when you want to pray, enter into your closet. It's a small, confined area where there's no room for anybody else. And then talk to your Father who is in heaven. Now people, this is a simple lesson. And many of you are going to say, yeah, we've heard that before. Well, I want to tell you, you're going to hear it 1,000 times because it's true. Take time to spend time with God in the quietest and most beautifully special place that you can find. When I look at our home, Helene has a chair in the corner of the lounge. And every day you could walk past that chair at a certain time and you'll see her sitting in her chair. That's her time to talk to God. I do it differently. Maybe you do too. Everybody has a different way of maybe interpreting this. But for goodness sake, people, find that time. Love that time. Enjoy that time. And listen well to what God will say. Have a fantastic day. See you tomorrow.